The Supercar Challenge is powered by Pirelli, Autosportinsurance.com, Syntix Innovative Lubricants, Magla, create your own digital magazine, and Valero, FIA approved race and rally base layers. Hello and welcome to Germany, to Oschersleben for round 2 of the Supercar Challenge powered by Pirelli. On this tight and twisty circuit, all 4 classes will again start as one big grid. Super GT, GTB, Supersport and Sport, each division with its own power to weight ratio to level the playing field. Supersport is the faster touring car division with a power to weight ratio of at least 4.5 kilos per horsepower. The Seat Leon Cup races, run by Ferry Monster Autosport, debuted last year in Supercar Challenge powered by Pirelli. They took quite a while to be competitive with standard engines and a weight of almost 1,200 kilos. They just weren't cutting it. But after putting the Seats on a crash diet over the winter, Dennis de Borst and Martin de Klein's blue and red Leon grabbed victory during the opening weekend at Zolder. They now have a single-point lead in the Supersport Championship. The yellow and grey Seat is back this season as well, driven by Dennis Heuveling and newcomer Art-Jan Ringelberg. Their machine's been upgraded to 2016 spec as well.
Voor deze winter hebben we eigenlijk alleen de auto verbeterd. Verder wel, we hebben
During the winter we focused on improving the car instead of doing driving testing. We did a few laps beforehand but nothing major. So this is basically the kick-off for the new season. We put in the new front aero kit. The bumper kit arrived very late though, but just in time for the second round of the championship. Well, let's take a look at the upgrades. Assistant team manager Robin Monster explains the differences between old and new. The yellow car has the new aero package, and it'll give it more stability at high speed. The diffuser's been improved, and there are 2 new exhaust pipes. And if you look at the sides of the bumpers, you'll see the flaps. That improves downforce on the rear at the car as well.
Downforce op de achterzijde ook te verbeteren. Zoals je hier ziet hebben we de 2016 update.
And looking towards the front of the car, this is the 2016 upgrade. You see the middle, you can see a big gap, basically a tunnel to give better airflow for the intercooler. And that improves the temperature of the engine and the charge intake, and that'll give us hopefully less engine power reduction.
Als je dan even meeloopt naar deze auto.
Moving over here to this car, this is the old aero package. The airflow much more restricted, and the distance to the intercooler is greater as well, and that means higher engine temperatures. So we'll be updating this car soon as well to get the same improved engine temperatures with the new aero package, and that's going to be vital, particularly with the high ambient we've got here. The Seat's become a force to be reckoned with this season, so Eric van der Munkhoff, just 1 point behind in the championship, will definitely have his hands full.
We gaan in ieder geval proberen er goed voor bij te zitten.
All we can do is do our best and try and stay close to them and try and overcome that 1 point disadvantage. Seats have been very quick here at Oschersleben. They showed that in free practice yesterday. I wasn't that far off, but we've still got a little work to do if we're going to try and beat them. A little more than anybody imagined, in fact, because the clutch needed changing just a few hours before qualifying. But the Van der Pas racing team did a great job, and then to everyone's surprise, Eric managed to take pole for the first race of the weekend in the final moments of qualifying.
Ja, het werd even heel spannend, want
it was very intense because when the car was ready for qualifying, I couldn't get the engine to rev. It wouldn't go past 6,500 RPM in any of the gears. The needle was just stuck like it was on a pit limiter or something. So I came in, the team tried to find a problem. We still have no idea what it was though. So I went out with just a few minutes to go, managed to get a good clean lap. I really had to just give it everything, and the result is pole for race 1. I don't know where I'm going to be starting on Sunday's grid. I only had 1 good lap. I did do a 1:37, so hopefully that'll be enough to be in front on Sunday as well. But I can't complain, although at the moment really the car's not at its best, to be frank.
Ja, ik hoop dat ik daar ook vooraan bij sta. Dus alles bij elkaar mag ik niet mopperen, alleen de auto is niet helemaal goed.
In a sport class, all cars must keep to a power-to-weight ratio of at least 5.6 kilos per horsepower. Peter de Jong and Carleen Bergsma are eager to do well here in Oschersleben. At the first weekend in Zolder, they were hit by a rival, and they only just made it to the finish. Some relief then when they grabbed pole position for both races here in Germany.
Ja, we zijn er erg blij mee.
We're really happy with the result, said Carleen. Hasn't come as a surprise because we were quickest in the practice session, and with these new tyres the grip level's been tremendous. Everything's been going our way, so hopefully we'll have the same kind of luck in the first race as well. GTB cars must weigh at least 3.7 kilos per horsepower. Unlucky in Zolder, Vard Slice and Chris Matthews turned the tide here in Oschersleben, setting the fastest 2 laps in qualifying in their BMW M4 Silhouette.
We waren zonder verwachtingen naar hier gekomen. Circuit onbekend voor iedereen. Allee, toch voor velen.
To be honest, says Vard, we didn't have high expectations coming here into Oschersleben. It's a new track for everybody, but it's for us at least. Chris and I did our first laps in free practice and then we set our strategy for the weekend. It's a great flowing track for our car. Wasn't long before managed to get a decent speed out of it. Donald Molinar's here to help the teams with the setup, and he's helped us with some hints and tips as well. And thanks to the team, the car is handling perfectly, so at the moment things are looking very good. Super GT is the fastest of the 4 divisions with a ratio of 2.8 kilos per brake horsepower. The Spanish E2P team returned with their Moslers. They currently lie 2nd and 3rd in the championship, 6 points behind Henry Zumbrink, the Volvo S60 V8 driver. Car 153, driven by Greek Kostas Kanaroglu. He shares with professional driver Oliver Campos Hull. And the number 154, Spaniard Alberto Di Martin, who this time shares with Portuguese pro Pedro Salvador. Despite a relatively low power output of 550 horsepower, the Moslers seem perfect for the short and twisty Oschersleben circuit, and that becomes clear when Oliver Campos Hull goes fastest with a 1:28.9 and a 1:29.1, taking pole for both races. Plus, the American GTs are among the few doing the race on the softer medium compound tyre, which offers more grip but suffers greater wear.
Well, we just need to take care of the tyre temperature, not to exceed the tyre limits in order to have a good tyre for the rest of the race. So it's going to be hard.
Before we get to Sunday's main race, let's take a look at what happened on Saturday. In Super GT, Motor 153 didn't get the greatest start. Costa Kanaroglu doing the first stint sees Pedro Salvador take the lead. Henk Tace with the more powerful Pumax RT takes 2nd place then, pushing Kanaroglu aside. Tace and Henry Zumbrink start on the hard compound Pirellis, which should be no match for the medium compound tyres of the Spanish Moslers on the twistier parts of the Oschersleben circuit. Nevertheless, Zumbrink manages to pile on the pressure. He moves up to 3rd place on the opening lap, chasing down Henk Tace up to the mandatory stops. Kanaroglu keeps 4th up to the pit stops, handing over to Oliver Campos Hull. They have a big advantage over Henry Zumbrink with 15 fewer result seconds. And with Henk Tace dropping back with a slowly deflating rear tyre, the lead battle boils down to the 2 Moslers. Gentleman Alberto Di Martin can't hold off his pro teammate in the closing stages, so Oliver Campos Hull and Costa Kanaroglu take their first win of the season.
It was very tight, especially the last stint. We were fighting 4 cars for the same position, and actually winning was just a matter of almost luck.
Too modest. It was a great result for the Mosler drivers. Perfect strategy to keep those medium Pirellis alive. Little less so for Alberto Di Martin. Pedro Salvador gave him a huge lead, but in the closing stages, Henry Zumbrink got by him for 2nd on the final lap to maintain his championship lead by just 3 points. In GTB, Vard Slice and Chris Matthews had pole and nobody came close to the JR Motorsport BMW in the race. They finished well ahead of Oliver Freymut's Renault Megane and Jos Janssens Porsche, and that bodes well for the BMW duo for Sunday's 90-minute Enduro. I'm really looking forward to tomorrow's race, says Chris. It was a great confidence booster. With such a great teammate, I'm feeling really comfortable because I know he'll make up for any lost ground. Looking back from Erik van der Munkhoff, the pole sitter in Supersport, the Seat on the 2nd row. Next to Erik van der Munkhoff is Erik van Loon in the blue and white BMW 3 Series. On the left of Dennis de Borst, Art Jan Ringelberg attacking for 3rd place. Ronald van Loon outbrakes van der Munkhoff to take the lead, while the Seats are on the tail of the Z4 GTR, and the orange BMW of Marcel van der Maart is closing the gap as well. Van der Munkhoff retakes the lead from Van Loon on the inside. On the inside too, through comes Martin de Boers to second place. And Van der Mark will move up to third by the end of the first lap after Ringelberg's Seat goes off. Worried faces then at Ferry Monster Autosport. Martin de Klein disappointed too. Dennis de Boers is forced to pit on lap 9, losing second place. He is furious as they drop out of the race with technical problems. Huge disappointment for Dennis de Boers, who was right on Van der Munkhoff's back bumper. He said, I was really chasing hard, then suddenly we had an ECU problem. Think it's a faulty mapping sensor, no turbo pressure, backup mode on the motor, and that was it. The disappearance of the Seat promoted Marcel van der Maat up to second place, and he chased down leader Eric van der Munkhoff. And then at the beginning of lap 11, under braking for the first corner chicane, he took the lead, much to the delight of the BS Racing team, who'd been forced to drop out of the first race in Zolder with engine problems, which ended up ending their weekend. Now they lead the Supersport race and also set the fastest lap time at 1:37.4. Safety car comes out and the replay shows what happened. It's Lotus driver Priscilla Spellman. The Exige slowing down towards turn 6, and then she spins, leaving a huge smoke trail as well as oil on the track. Fortunately, the Lotus otherwise undamaged, but the oil down at the chicane caused problems for a number of others.
Mijn start was niet zo heel best, maar daarna kreeg ik het ritme te pakken.
I didn't have the greatest of starts, says Priscilla, but after a few laps got into a good rhythm and got up to a decent speed, and I was closing the gap. I think it was Huub Del Nooy in front. And after 10 laps, the engine started to act a bit strange. The team have just pulled everything apart. It turns out that the crankshaft broke, and that was the end of our race. Things are looking better for the BS Racing team. Marcel van der Maat's pit stop was timed perfectly during the safety car period, and they take the overall lead, mainly because the sport classes do their pit stops before the GTs, it's true, but Lady Luck is not on their side either. With just 2 laps to go, the engine is running on only 5 of its 6 cylinders, and their race is over. Starting to look like Murphy's Law is haunting us, says Peter. Everything that could be replaced with new parts has been. We've troubleshooted everything. Heartbroken Peter says we worked for days to get everything ready. We're just a bunch of volunteers. The boys have spent every minute of every day trying to make the car perfect. We had issues with the engine during free practice. They pulled an all-nighter. It's exactly the same problem. It's really strange, very frustrating. After the pit stops, Luc van Loon, who took over from Father Ronald, has the lead with no result seconds. He's been chased by Dennis Heuveling in the Seat, but Luc is not intimidated. He and his father claimed their first ever race win in the Supercar Challenge by 0.7 of a second. At Zolder, they also had the lead, but dropped out with just a few laps to go with a broken drive shaft. There were tears then, and there are tears now, but tears of joy. The team are thrilled, so too is Father Ronald. Really exciting, says Luke. The tyres were completely worn. I was all over the place. I had contact with Henry Zumbrink, went off briefly, but still managed to hang on to the lead. The first win for the Van Loons brings them within 7 points of championship leader Eric van der Munkhoff. Van der Munkhoff was third behind Dennis Heuveling and Art-Jan Ringelberg. They had a great debut in the series here in Oschersleben, taking second. On board with Stan van Oord, starting from the back of the sport class after problems in qualifying. He's next to the blue and white Peugeot, Bart van den Broek and Chris Vert, the championship leaders, who had a tough time in qualifying as well. Pole sitter Carleen Bergsma is off and away in the Lotus Exige, and it's a BMW 1 Series battle behind for second. Bart Dorst with the 135i in second place. Jan van der Voort, the 1 Series GTR in third, then Teun Rutgers, keeping Renault Clio driver Rob Niemann's yellow and blue car behind him, as Stan van Oord takes sixth. Carleen Bergsma opens up a massive lead, but soon retires with a broken alternator. The battle for the lead then between Bart Dorst and Teun Rutgers. But during the safety car period, Rutgers has the better pit stop series, helping him and co-driver Harold Wesseling win their first race of the season. They finish ahead of John van der Boort and Benjamin van der Berg, while Bart Dorst and Niels Kuhl take third. The winners are delighted. It's beyond their wildest dreams. I thought I was fifth or something. I couldn't read the pit board because the low sign and we don't have radio, so I just kept pushing and pushing. Seems it was unnecessary, but it's great. It was an exciting race. Next up, the 90-minute main event on Sunday. Sunday dawns hot and sunny with temperatures forecast for 30 degrees, which could affect the cars in a lot of ways: tyre wear, mechanical problems and human fatigue. Problems is what Henk Tace has had to endure so far. Fuel shortage in race 1 in Zolder, diff problems in race 2 and a puncture at Oschersleben. He'll do this 90-minute race with Donald Molenaar, 71-year-old Henk doing the first stint. Henry Zumbrink has had a win already but was outpaced by the Moses in race 1. Eager to do well here in Super GT, and he needs to, because a 3-point lead isn't much, especially as 1 point has already gone to pole sitter Oliver Campos Hull with Pedro Salvador in second. The gentleman drivers will take over the Mosleys after the pit stops. Albert de Martin and Costa Canaroglu, both motors again starting on the medium compound tyres as the field rolls away for an hour and a half of racing at Oschersleben. Rolling up to the start, Oliver Campos Hull on the right of the front row, on the left Pedro Salvador, then Henry Zumbrink, we're on board with him, Henk Tace alongside, out to the final corner, ready to go, red lights are on. Oh, and they changed very early indeed. Normally you almost get to the start line before they change. Through goes Henry Zumbrink. Oliver Campos Hull caught completely by surprise. The poleman down to 4th behind Henk Tace. He's looking to the inside into the very tight left-hand first corner. It goes left-right. Zumbrink outbrakes himself. And through goes Pedro Salvador. Round the outside comes Oliver Campos Hull, scrabbling for grip. Couldn't quite get the power down. The Volvo on the inside got more horsepower. And he goes back in front, but it's a left-hander coming up next. Down the inside on the brakes, Oliver Campos Hull. Tight around the inside on the curbs of the 180 left. And he grabs the exit. He is up into second behind Pedro Salvador. Back to a Mosler 1-2 with Henry Zumbrink in third in the Volvo. Henk Tace fourth in the silver and grey. And then fifth, Barry van Elk's Mosler. Well, Henry Zumbrink with more than 100 horsepower in hand over the Moslers. That will be useful on the straights, plus harder tyres. And in these temperatures, that might help later in this longer race as well, as the Moses have gone with the medium. Down through the S's, great overtaking opportunity at the end of the long back straight, but Zumbrink wasn't quite close enough. Maybe he's keeping his powder dry as they get to the double right-hander that ends the lap. And Pedro Salvador eager to run away and win. You can see the car in front, just a little wriggle there from Oliver Campos Hull, and Henry Zumbrink trying to close on the straight. Look at the horsepower differential. He comes the long way round the outside, and that is really telling. Campos Hull going to be hard on the brakes and tyres if he wants to fight off the power of the Volvo lap after lap. And 90 minutes in the heat on Sunday, longer than Saturday's 60-minute race. Oh, trouble for Henk Tace. Sounds like a drive shaft, prop shaft has gone. And this will be his third DNF of the season. Did somehow manage to finish race 1 on Saturday. But this car needs reliability in a big way. Replay of the start now in Supersport. 2 rows in front of us is Ronald van Loon, the pole man. Dennis Heuveling alongside, and he is hemmed in by Sets. But look on the left, great start from the white and black 1 series of Robert van den Berg. Through into second goes the blue and yellow Exige of Jan van der Kooi, as Eric van der Munkhoff looks to try and make up ground at the chicane, but stuck on the outside is not the place to be here. GTB Porsche in the middle of this battle, breaking up the lead trio and the group behind. Dennis Heuveling third in the yellow and grey set, Ronald van Loon in fourth. Eric van der Munkhoff chasing Martin de Klein, 5th position. He was looking for second at the first corner. Van der Munkhoff goes down inside the set, Van Loon in front, and they're all over that GTB Porsche. Dennis Heuveling in the yellow Seat, Ronald van Loon chasing him for 3rd position. The Porsche in the way as they get to the long double left-hander. Eric van der Munkhoff doesn't have the best car this weekend. He's battling Martin de Klein for 5th. He might just have to settle for whatever points he can get. He's only got a tiny championship lead, can't afford to retire. Into the turn 6 chicane, the back of the circuit, and looks like Ronald van Loon didn't get a very good run through there in the BMW. On board with Martin de Klein. He did get a good exit in the Seat, the front wheel drive car pulling its way out of that corner well, along the back straight into the fast right-left sweep as he goes through under braking. Van der Munkhoff having a look as well. He can't go through. Martin de Klein then moves up to 4th place. Ronald van Loon, who started on pole, down to 5th with Eric van der Munkhoff chasing, and he's got a Praga R1 behind him which could well be quicker on the straight, so he's going to have to watch his mirrors through the final double right-handers they come. And on to the start-finish line. Has he got a good run going on Ronald van Loon? Yes, he has. The Praga R1 right behind him, so he might have to watch the mirrors. He looks to the inside of van Loon. moves up to 5th position, and in a lap the poleman has gone from 1st to 6th in class, hangs on the outside, but Van der Munkhoff has the inside line and goes through for 5th. Ronald van Loon struggling with the rear of the car. That's going to burn up the tyres, and there are no tyre changes allowed in the pit stops during the race. Supersport mingling with the GTB class here. Chris Matthews is the GTB leader in this BMW. Close behind him, Jos Janssen is second in the Porsche. Third is another Porsche, and that's the car of Art Bosman. Then the Megane with a high wing, that's Oliver Freymut in 4th place. And behind our front runners in Supersport, that is Fiona James, 5th in GTB in the Praga R1. Lots more to come from Oschersleben with the Supersport and Sport classes, and of course Super GT and GTB. Stay with us and the Supercar Challenge powered by Pirelli. The Supercar Challenge is powered by Pirelli, Autosportinsurance.com, Syntix Innovative Lubricants, Magla, create your own digital magazine, and Valero, FIA approved race and rally base layers. Welcome back to the Supercar Challenge powered by Pirelli. It's the second round of the championship at the German circuit of Oschersleben. We're taking a look at the 90 minutes endurance race on Sunday when all 4 classes start in one huge grid. Sport class pole sitter was Carleen Bergsma in the black and white Lotus Exige, but it's Bart Drost in the BMW 1 Series who takes the lead in the first lap of the race. In 3rd place, another BMW 1 Series, Harold Vesselink, the winner of race 1. John van der Voort in his 1 Series GTR is 4th, ahead of Chris van der Voort in the Peugeot. And behind them, the battle for 6th place, Stan van Oords, driving around the outside of Rob Neiman to pass him on lap 6. Robert van den Berg leads Supersport in the 1 Series BMW, then the yellow Seat Dennis Hoveling, chased by the Lotus of Jan van der Kooi, who's got Martin de Klein behind him and Eric van den Munkhoff. Well, right in front, the yellow Seat, under pressure now, Jan van der Kooi with a great exit out of the final corner, just waiting for the speed to help him down the inside into the tight left-hander that begins the lap. The Seat takes the racing line, though there's more grip around the outside there, and he denies the Lotus the opportunity. Van der Kooi tighter on the inside, but look behind, the red, white and blue Seat of Martin de Klein trying to get on the act as well. Van der Kooi can't match the front-wheel drive car's acceleration out of the corner, and once more though, in the double left-hander, he has an attempt at passing Hoveling, running over the curbs. But Martin de Klein is right with him. You can sense Van der Kooi's frustration, can't you? He can get inside in the corners, but then the Seat just powers its way from him. On the tight, twisty first part of the circuit here at Oschersleben, he is all over Hoveling. But Martin de Klein is right with him, and that's allowing Robert van den Berg in the white BMW just to clear off in the lead. If Van der Kooi can't get by, he might be in trouble. Into the fast back S's, Martin de Klein needs to use a lot of curb to stay with the Lotus. Van der Kooi drifts out too wide though, got in deep and late, and there's the change for 3rd place. Super GT class leader is Pedro Salvador in the red and white Mosler, then Henry Zumbrink in the grey and white Volvo under pressure from Oliver Campos Hull in the 2nd of the Moslers. Berry van Elk is in 4th place in class in his Mosler MT900R. Oliver Campos Hull piling the pressure on Henry Zumbrink, the Volvo driver. The Mosler again starting with softer tyres, goes by on the inside, and Zumbrink, despite his 100 horsepower advantage, can't hang on to a top 2 spot. But as the race continues, will tyre wear start to undo the Moslers? Zumbrink went for a harder compound in race 1 and has probably done the same again for the 90-minute race 2. And he might need those tyres if he's to hold off Berry van Elk, who's intent on making it a Mosler 1-2-3 podium sweep. Tightly contested lead in sport class, the 1 Series of Bart Drost ahead of the low Lotus of Carleen Bergsma. She's determined to retake the lead she lost early in the race, and between the 2 right-handers at the end of the lap, through she goes. The light Lotus using its handling advantage to stay in front of the scurrying pack of 1 Series. And here's the way they work out. Bart Drost in his 1 Series with a 3.5 litre engine, 3 litre 1 Series behind of Harold Wesseling, then John van der Voort in his 1 Series GTR 3 litre. You didn't know there were so many versions of a 1 Series, did you? And you can't even buy a 3 litre version for the road. Unfortunately for Carleen Bergsma, her tenure of the lead was not to last even a lap. After alternator failure put her out in race 1, the car again ground to a halt in race 2.
Nee, ja, ik had net de leiding weer in handen.
I'd just taken the lead back that I lost at the beginning of the race, she said. I had been really pushing the guy in front of me, making him nervous, and he started to make mistakes. That was great fun to do. I managed to get in front of him in the last corners before the start-finish straight. And in the very fast triple left-hander, I had to click it down from 4th to 3rd, and nothing happened. So sounds like the paddle shifter is broken. I've tried everything, but nothing worked, not even turning it on and off again. So it looks like it wasn't our day. Pit stop time, and in this 90-minute enduro, the GT divisions have to come in between the 45th and 55th minute for their mandatory stop, stationary for at least a minute if they don't have any result seconds. These are seconds that are added on if you end up on the podium in previous races. Our leaders come in, and with their 3rd place on Saturday, they only have 5 extra seconds to stand still, an advantage over their teammates and direct rivals behind. Alberto Dumartin takes the wheel from Pedro Salvador. He'll try and hold on for victory for the E2P racing team, something he failed to do on Saturday when he lost 1st place in the last couple of laps to his teammates. Oliver Campos Hull is in behind, handing over to Costa Canaroglu, and they will have 25 seconds extra after success on Saturday and 2nd in Zolder, and that'll seem like a lifetime, but it's fewer seconds than Henry Tumbrink. He, however, has other problems on his mind. Yet to come in, he runs wide out of the first chicane. Turns out the car has got a loose wheel. The David Tech team worked hard to fix it, keen to get back out on track before Barry Van Elk gets in front of them with his blue and white Mosler. But Van Elk is also having problems with his car, so Tumbrink still returns after the lengthy pit stop to take 3rd place. Back in the fray, Alberto Di Martin leading a Mosler 1-2 ahead of teammate Costa Canaroglu. And this time the 2 pros were out first, the 2 gentleman drivers out second. It's a more even battle. Canaroglu, though, closes the 30-second gap down to Alberto Di Martin, but getting close doesn't mean getting past. It'll take Costa a few laps, but he finally manages to get in a position to make a pass. Di Martin has to deal with slower traffic in front, giving Canaroglu a chance to latch right onto the tail. Down the front straight, he pulls out of the slipstream and outbrakes his teammate to go through. Saturday's winner's back in front, and it looks as though the E2P 1-2 is settled just as the previous day. But moments later, Canaroglu spins and stalls, so Di Martin gets a free ride to victory. It's the 2nd win for the team, but the 1st for Alberto Di Martin, and he is absolutely ecstatic. And co-driver Pedro Salvador seems delighted as well.
This is a marvelous race. We are really happy. We're really happy with the performance and the whole thing about this championship. This is a great event.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
A very happy Spaniard and Portuguese pairing on the podium. At Zolder, the results weren't quite there. They had 5th and 4th, but here in Oschersleben, with a 3rd and a win, they're closing the gap to Henry Tumbrink in the point standings. 2nd place to Costa Canaroglu and Oliver Campos Hull. 3rd to Henry Tumbrink, still holding on to finish the 90-minute encounter. And that's enough to keep him in the lead of the championship, but he now shares it with Campos Hull and Canaroglu. So there's even more at stake for the next round at Spa-Francorchamps in June. In GTB, Chris Matthews leads in the JR Motorsport BMW M4 that he shares with Vard Slice. Slice will take over and everything has to be neatly done to make sure they don't spend any longer than strictly necessary stationary. They too have result seconds, but after a tough time in Zolder, they only have 15 extra to add to their mandatory 1 minute stationary. That is as much as their biggest rival Jos Janssen in the blue Porsche GT3 Cup car. Vard Slice knows the car and the Supercar Challenge well. Not so Chris Matthews, his teammate, who is brand new to both this season. Went just as well or even better than yesterday, he said. A lot hotter than yesterday though, so pretty hard, especially with the longer stints, but things are looking good. We're not there yet though, anything could happen. And he's right to be cautious as Art Bosman demonstrates. He was third in GTB but comes in with a punctured tyre. And that's a real shame because he had no result seconds and would surely have stayed in front of Praga driver Fiona James. The Vanderpass racing team works hard to replace the wheel quickly, but they can't stop Art Bosman dropping back to fourth place. There is nothing left of that left rear Pirelli. Looks like it suffered a failure and shredded itself in the heat, and that's probably what took the valve out as well, as Bosman says there was no contact. Vard Slice and Chris Matthews claim their third win of the season, and Vard says Chris drove an excellent stint. To cope with the pressure from Jos Janssen for almost 40 minutes is very oppressive, especially on a track he doesn't know well. All I had to do was bring the car home. To make sure there was no resistance, I pushed very hard in the opening laps of my stint. Good way to see if the setup is something we can keep or should improve as well. Spa-Francorchamps is the next round, so I think this is helping us towards that. And then I just had to keep a steady pace to make sure everything stayed in one piece, and that's how we won the race, our third out of four. Well, we managed to stay close, that's all that we had. Getting close is one thing, getting by is another. We're fast and we finish every race, so we've got to be very happy with that, says Jos Janssen. And he's keeping the leaders honest. Third and second means he stays close to Vard Slice and Chris Matthews in the points. Fiona James on the podium means she enters the top 6 in the GTB standings. Lots more action to come in sport and supersport. Stay with us. The Supercar Challenge is powered by Pirelli, Autosportinsurance.com, Syntix Innovative Lubricants, Magla, create your own digital magazine, and Valero, FIA approved race and rally base layers. Welcome back to the Supercar Challenge powered by Pirelli at Oschersleben in Germany. It's the second round of the championship, and the 90-minute Enduro on Sunday will continue with our action in Supersport and Sport classes. Heading to the pit stops, Robert Vandenberg in the white and black BMW 1 Series leads in Supersport, ahead of the Seats of Dennis Heuveling, yellow and grey, and Martin de Klein, red, white and blue. This is Huub Del Nooy, the leader, Robert Vandenberg's teammate. Last year he had a torrid time in a Lotus Exige, now getting ready for the mandatory pit stops, which for the sport division are between the 35th and 45th minutes of the race. Vandenberg and Del Nooy are eager to do well here, as in race 1 at Oschersleben they had to park it with technical problems. They still managed to get points, finishing exactly at 75% race distance, the narrowest of margins. But they have no result seconds because they've yet to be on the podium, but that might all change as they head back out in the lead. Their rivals will be the Seats. This is Martin de Klein handing over his lay-on to Dennis de Borst from third place. They too dropped out of the first race in Oschersleben, meaning they only have 10 result seconds left, the same as Seat rivals Heuveling and Ringelberg. With Erik van der Munkhoff and the Van Loons having more, things are looking good. De Klein says we're doing well, the start was good, but I did get blocked by Van Loon. I wanted to pass on his right, but slowly and surely he came alongside. I didn't want to go on the grass, that would have ended up badly. I didn't want to end up in the wall either, so I had to wait for my chance and managed to fight my way back into the top 3. The races aren't just a battle between the drivers, but also between the teams. Pit stops can make a huge difference and must be perfectly timed. The entry and exit time to the pit lane is vital. It looks like they nailed it there, because the battle for the lead after the pit stops is between Huub Del Nooy and the chasing Seat of Dennis de Borst. He's closed down a more than 10-second gap. De Borst is piling the pressure on the BMW driver, trying to force an error. Meanwhile, Art-Jan Ringelberg is in third place, but unable to stay with the speed of the leaders. Dennis de Borst is pushing hard in a car he knows well, but Del Nooy was driving a very different Lotus last year, and under pressure just can't quite hang on to the BMW. He overshoots the first chicane on lap 46 out of 54, and Dennis de Borst goes through. The onboard replay shows exactly what happens. Tied tyres, unfamiliar driver, and he just manages to escape the gravel, but the lead is gone under pressure from the Seat. Supersport Championship leader Erik van der Munkhoff exited the pit lane in fourth place, but is soon back in, where his race comes to an end. Had a few problems with the engine right at the beginning. It started to stutter a bit. Luckily it cleared after a few laps. I think maybe the fuel started to vaporise. But now unfortunately the race is over. We got a stone in the radiator and everything started to overheat. Did manage to finish 75% race distance, so it's better to stop and get points for sixth place. I was in fourth when it happened, so points wise not a complete disaster, but carrying on would have been. It would have ruined the engine, and that's not an option. I'd have been stuck somewhere around the track, and also finishing in sixth place. It would have cost a lot more money for no more points. It's a shame, but not more you can do. With no result seconds, Jan van der Kooi and Priscilla Spelman should have been second after the stops, but they got a drive-through, and now there are problems too with the Lotus Exige.
Nee, de motor hield in eigenlijk de hele wedstrijd al vanaf het begin. Dus we moesten wat eerder
Right from the start we had engine problems. The engine wasn't pulling well. I had to upshift early, and they didn't have enough speed to stay with the cars in front. I was second, dropped back to fourth. I stayed close. I was closing the gap on the third place car, but our pit stop was a bit too short, so we got a drive-through. Apparently the stopwatch wasn't working either, so we had to guess when to leave, and unfortunately we were 2 or 3 seconds too early out of the pit lane, all thanks to a dead battery and a stopwatch. Then Priscilla came in because the engine was stuttering even more, and now we're down to 5th or 6th, so we've just got to try and get to the finish and score some points. Into the closing stages, it's Seat versus BMW. Huub Del Nooy behind, trying everything to get by. He's got the speed to close on the Seat into the S's, having a long look around the outside, but a good defensive line means he can't get through. But on the final lap, the battle takes a turn for the bizarre. The BMW still attacking hard. Right behind him is the race-leading Mosler of Alberto Di Martin, the Super GT front runner, and the checkered flag comes out for him behind the battle. But Huub Del Nooy backs off, thinking the race is over. It's an open goal, and Dennis de Borst is off and away, scoring his second win of the season. So the Seat comes out on top, the BMW in second place, Hoveling and Ringelberg's Seat completing the podium ahead of the Van Loon's BMW.
Het was niet normaal.
An insane race, says Dennis de Borst. Really hard work. Ended up having a great battle with Huub Del Nooy. He was a lot quicker than me on the straights, running away. All I could do was wait, put on the pressure, and it worked. He made a mistake. Once I got in front, I just managed to hang on, but boy, it was intense. Despite his misfortune, Erik van der Munkhoff manages to hold on to the lead in the championship that he took after race 1 in Oschersleben. Luke and Ronald van Loon moved from 4th to 2nd, with de Borst and Decline breathing down their necks. It's a very tight top 3 in sport. Bart Drost's 1 Series has a 3.5 litre engine, Harold Visselink behind with the 3 litre, and John van der Voort with another 3 litre in his 1 Series GTR. On board with Harold Vesselink down into the first chicane, and the thing that every chasing driver wants to see, the leader spinning it away on lap 12, and he drops all the way back to 4th place, so close is the battle. Replay shows he just gets in a little too deep under brakes, and around goes the tail. By the time he recovers, he's dropped down to 4th position, trying to chase Harold Vesselink, the new leader, Problems 6 laps later for John van der Voort. He goes from second back down to 5th position by the time he's turned himself around and driven through the gravel traps. Well, that puts him right in front of Rob Neiman in the Clio. Once front runners in the class, the Clios are now being left behind by the development of the BMWs, so any opportunity to have a go will be grabbed with both hands. However, in the triple left-hander, the BMW driver once more gets into trouble, and as he comes back on, he's not too far away from collecting Neiman, who fortunately has his wits about him and avoids the danger. He doesn't exactly look hugely impressed though, does he? Battle for 4th place between Bart Drost in the BMW and Stan van Oord in the Clio. Like Rob Neiman, Van Oord relishing any opportunity to really get to grips with the BMWs, and it looks as though Drost is struggling a little with the rear end of his car, not something that afflicts the Clios that much. On lap 18, Van Oord goes through, but Drost counterattacks. How, you say? He's got 3 litres under the bonnet compared to 2 of the Clio. He just goes straight by on the straight. Covers off the inside line under braking, and he's back up into 4th position. Out of the chicane, the BMW not looking quite so tight. Van Oord gets his nose on the inside. Drost closes the door too late, and around he goes. From Stan van Oord's view, down into the braking area and allowing the BMW to get in deep. He knows he's going to run out wide. Van Oord has got half a gap, tries to take it. Drost tries to close the door and inevitably is always going to get turned around. Start of the race was perfect, but I'm not sure if the tyres are in the best condition. I spun the car. And then I got back on in 4th, moved up to 3rd. A few laps later got hit in the back, and again I went around, dropped to 5th or 6th, came in for the pit stops, and now Niels is in 2nd position. Niels Kool is in 2nd then, so what happened to everybody else? Well, Rob Neiman was 3rd after the stops with no result seconds, but a slow left front puncture sends him off into the gravel, and that is the end of his race, but he still gets points for 7th position, having just completed minimum race distance. Just as in race 1, an engine problem sidelines Stan van Oord. He's forced to pull off and park opposite the pits, leaving him a rather discontented spectator. The Peugeot RCZ of Chris Vogt and Bart van den Broek moves up to 3rd place. They were the championship leaders before the start of the race, and that is again a good points haul for them. In 2nd place, Niels Kool and Bart Drost's BMW 1 Series. But the race leaders after the pit stops, Teun Rutgers and Harold Wesseling in the silver BMW 1 Series. Again, not the fastest, but surprisingly good pit stop tactics. Remarkable with no radio and a limited budget. They claim victory ahead of the BMW of Drost and Kool. The Peugeot in 3rd position as the Clios struggle to stay healthy. They might not have the biggest budget, but I think the biggest smiles go to Harold Wesseling and Teun Rutgers. Sometimes you need to have lady luck on your side, says Teun, and we needed it today because the front tyres were completely worn out. I was all over the road, but I still managed to keep up some good lap times. I'm really happy. The car is just great. Positions in the championship haven't changed, but the gaps have got smaller with 2 wins. Teun Rutgers and Harold Wesseling are charging up on the inside as Chris Vogt and Bart van den Broek still lead. And that's it for round 2 in Oschersleben. Next time out, the Supercar Challenge powered by Pirelli will be at the awesome Spa-Francorchamps on the 11th and 12th of June. And you can catch all the action here. Join us then. The Supercar Challenge is powered by Pirelli, Autosportinsurance.com, Syntix Innovative Lubricants, Magla, create your own digital magazine, and Valero, FIA approved race and rally base layers.